Deb, I'm worried about you.
Why?
Well,
the stress is getting to
there's
me.
a lot of reasons to be worried about you.
Yeah.
But recently you have been complaining about not getting a lot of sleep.
It's true. I haven't been sleeping well.
And it's funny because, for the better part of the pandemic, you and I, Dad would be in bed by 6.
Right.
Then you and I would stay up till about 10ish and turn the TV off, and we'd put the dog outside to go to the bathroom, and we'd say our niceties and we'd go to bed. I now find my way up between 9:30 and 9:45, and you ridicule me all the time. It's
because I want my friend to stay with me.
It's the biggest guilt trip you can put on somebody, which is, why don't you want to spend time with me? And it's like, we have been sitting in this room for the last 3.5 hours. But the other day you said, I need to go to bed when you go to bed. And I say, you literally chastise me for going to bed when I go to bed. And you said, well, I haven't been getting good sleep. I need to go to bed when you go to bed. And I said, okay, then just turn the television off and follow me upstairs. So the other day we were downstairs and I threw a movie on and you kind of fell asleep in your chair, which is fine. I mean, that's probably a good thing. Your body is telling you you're exhausted. Exactly. So you kind of like shoot out of your slumber that you had been sleeping for 25, 30 minutes. And I look at you because I'm wide awake watching the movie. And I say, hey, you should go to bed. You don't even say anything. You just sit in your chair, fall asleep one more time. But then you wake back up. And I'm like, well, she's an adult. She gets to do what she wants to do. But I figured once I went upstairs at 9:30, you would be going up shortly thereafter. So I go to sleep. And then I wake up and I check my phone and I get a text message from Deb at 1:00 in the morning with a Zillow listing from the other side of the country. And that's when I realized she's in a really bad sleep place. So Deb,
I don't even think about that I'm sending you stuff.
There's moments.
He knows what time I'm really going to bed.
There's moments where I'm like, thank God it's only a Zillow posting and not an SOS. Like, I need help. I've fallen out of bed or there's a murderer in the house, because that doesn't even wake me up until I wake up at 8:00.
Oh my gosh.
So how are we going to help you get to sleep? I did turn to the internet to see maybe there are some reasons that you're not going to sleep.
So here's where I think my perfect sleep window is.
Got it. Because by nature, you're a night owl.
By nature, I'm a night owl. But, I do think they say things like the perfect sleep window for the average person is like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Like, that's 8 hours.
I agree with the 10 p.m. part. The 6 a.m. sounds terrible.
Okay. Just people need to know now.
In general.
In general, I'm not going to get up at 6 o'clock unless there's a reason to.
Unless the house is on fire.
Or there's a plane to catch, right? Yep. So I think mine is more like, and I do think I need 8 or 9 hours sleep.
I need 9 for sure.
Oh, do you? Are you 9 for sure? Okay, so I think I'm more like 11 to 7 or 11 to 8. Do you know what I mean? Something like that, in that deal. And I feel like I sleep good in that window. But here's what happens with me, because I do have night owl tendencies. I can get a second wind, which is what happened. I mean, it wasn't even that I was exhausted. It wasn't even like falling in the chair gave me a second wind.
No.
It can happen when I'm like, there's something that happens with me after 10 o'clock. It's either go to bed or now you're up.
It's your Gremlins moment. We can't let Deb stay up past 10. We can't feed Deb after midnight.
I need to be, if I'm in the bed, I'm good. And I'm pretty good about not watching TV upstairs. Like, I'm happy to read a book and go to sleep.
Yeah.
But if I'm downstairs, then I think like, so do this and then go do a load of laundry and then do this. And put these dishes away. And I mean, it's just like this to-do list pops up and I start kind of rapidly, and it can go until 2 o'clock in the morning easily.
That's not good. Let's try to diagnose it. Let's turn to Dr. Google and let's try to see, of these 10 possible reasons for you staying up, let's see if any of them are actually affecting you.
I hate this because I can't lie to you because you're looking at me.
No, but I think
just because when I lie.
Yeah.
I'll start laughing.
Here's one that I know we can check right off.
Okay.
You've been playing a lot of video games, Deb?
No.
Okay. But the sub question of this is Are you on your TV and phone?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah.
so that's a yes. Are you sipping a little whiskey, having a nightcap?
Absolutely no.
So we're not drinking.
Not drinking.
How about the molecular formula C8H10N4O2? Do you know what that?
No, I have no idea what that is.
Are you drinking caffeine late at night?
No, I'm religious about that.
That's true. You try not to do any caffeine after 3. Do you have a set schedule for when you want to go to sleep?
Oh, that's where I'm botching that 100%. Like, I think when they talk about there should be a ritual to go, like you do this, then you do this, and then your body knows. You're like a little puppy. Your body knows, like, oh, we're getting ready for that. Do you know what I mean?
It says under the schedule, bedtime. It's not just for toddlers.
So the puppy was a good analogy.
Yep. How about this? Is there too much artificial light in your room?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Are you doing any burpees or jumping jacks before bed?
Definitely no.
Okay, so no exercising immediately before bed. How about the room? Is the room too cold? Is it too hot?
No, I'm very particular, so I make sure the room is good before I go to sleep.
How about just lying there? Do you try to go to sleep before you're ready to go to sleep?
So this is typically what I do. I don't, you know how they say, I have my Kindle set on the page that isn't supposed to bother you. You know, the light.
Oh, the background?
Yeah. But I just use a Kindle to read, and I usually, like, all the lights are out. And normally what'll happen is, like, I'll start to doze off reading the Kindle. And when I do that, I close the Kindle, I take my glasses off, I take my 2 extra pillows out, and I lay down.
But then you go to sleep.
Well, no, sometimes I lay there and think. Yeah.
That's what they're saying. Just lying there can't sleep. Just lying there worrying about it may cause more anxiety. And then they're going to tell you to do the thing that you just stopped doing, which is try relaxing with a book.
Yeah. And so then I've done that. So then I put my glasses on, I grab the Kindle again, I grab the 2 pillows, I prop myself up, and and one would think that would be enough to make you wide awake, but then I'll be able to. It's
a vicious cycle of reading and sleeping.
I'll be able to read, and then I get dozy, and maybe I just shouldn't even worry about my glasses and the pillows and all that.
Do you do any white noise? Like, I know that we don't have central air in this house, so all of our bedrooms have swamp coolers.
Yeah. No, we have air conditioning. We don't have swamp coolers.
What is a swamp cooler?
Swamp cooler is a thing you put up on top of the house.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Air conditioning window units.
Yeah.
Is that too loud for you?
No, I don't think so.
You can do white noise?
Once I'm asleep, I think I'm good.
Got it. Have we diagnosed this yet? Is it? Did I just check everything besides alcohol and video games?
Possibly. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that I need to establish a ritual.
Yeah. So
maybe what I
don't know that a ritual is the right word. I don't think you need to sacrifice anything.
No. But I'm like this. And I'm just going to give you an example. So if the goal was to be upstairs in bed at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or 10 o'clock. Let's just say around that time.
Yep.
Let's say at 8:30 for just picking a time. I went upstairs and put my nightgown on and brushed my teeth and washed my face.
Oh, yeah.
And took the vitamins I take before bed.
Getting the body mentally prepared.
Exactly. And then pulled the covers back and put the lamp on. Do you see what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, if that would take 15 minutes max. Went up and did that. Still come back downstairs with you, right? We often have a cup of chamomile tea. Have a cup of chamomile tea. Make that part of my ritual. And then when you say you're going to bed, I go to bed. Everything's ready. I just have to crawl in bed then. That would be a great point.
Do you want to know my routine?
What? Yeah,
this is literally what I do.
I don't know what you do after that door closes, because you come out, as I've said before, looking like you look right now, and you go in looking like you look. Yep. So I don't know what happens.
I hang upside down.
Exactly.
I go up to my bedroom. I will turn on the AC unit.
Yeah.
To cool the room down. I will brush my teeth. While I'm brushing my teeth, I'll close my blinds and close the curtains, right, to get a nice cave-like environment. Mm-hmm. I will then wash my face, do any facial treatments that are necessary. I will take an emergency before I go to sleep. Then I will turn off the lights, turn on the humidifier. The television is on, and it's usually the show for the night that I'm watching, or X-Files or whatever show I'm binging on, right?
Right.
So this probably takes me to about 10:15.
Yeah.
By the time I'm in bed.
Yeah.
A full episode is about 45 minutes, which coincides with 11 o'clock. I don't even just turn the TV off. I'm ready to turn the TV off. But I've put my phone away 20 minutes before 11. So like at 10:40, because I will find I'm never on TikTok in bed. That is a recipe to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
The only
because I was watching reels on Instagram.
That's awful because you're just mindlessly swiping.
Yes.
I might peruse Instagram food up until 10:40, but then I'll immediately shut it down, put the phone away, and I swear to God, the second I put my phone down, within 10 minutes, I'm starting to take the pillows out from behind my neck, putting them on the ground. And when 11 hits and that episode is typically over, or if I have to hang on for like an extra 5 minutes, I'm so sleepy that it's TV off, earplugs in. I set the AC for like an hour just so it runs in with the white noise, and I'm out.
So, couple questions.
Go for it.
All right. So, do you ever fall asleep with the TV on?
Never.
Really?
Not once.
Really?
Because listen, they would tell you it's bad to watch TV before you go to bed. I don't have an issue with that, but I hate the idea of waking up to a TV.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, the second I turn it off, it maybe takes me 2 or 3 minutes to fall deep asleep.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, then I'm going to go for the ritual thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to start doing.
You have to find what works for you.
Yeah.
Because this podcast isn't going to just be fun if it's called the And Kev Pod. Let's start the episode.
Welcome to the Deb and Kev podcast. One is a Harvard Business School alum. The other is her son, discussing business, pop culture, family, and everything in between. Now, here are your hosts, Deb and Kev.
Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the Deb and Kev podcast. Right there is the woman who can't believe we're halfway through August. It's my mom, Deb.
I'm Deb, and I can't believe it.
And I know that time is just a construct and dry land is not a myth. I'm her son, Kev, and this is our podcast. We didn't test to make sure that this sounds good first. So let's double check. Oh, wrong one. I'm Kev, and this is our podcast. Perfect. That would have been bad. On today's show, in the segment that pays the bills, Deb is going to talk to us about when is the right time to start populating your business's social media feeds. We are back with more professional and personal questions in the segment we call Dear Debbie. And you already know, but when we wind it all up with what we're thankful for and dai u para cenar.
Pardon?
Ay para cenar.
What language are we in?
Espanol. Ay para cenar.
Ay para cenar?
Yes. What's for dinner?
Oh, like
Ay para cenar. I have DUE in here, and I don't think that's meant to be in here. So we'll just take that part out. Ay para cenar.
Ay para cenar.
But first, I haven't had a drop of alcohol in a month since my birthday.
Has it been a...
It's been a month.
Okay.
And I'm not asking for
deliberate. Was it deliberate?
The first week, for sure. The first week, for sure,
Is there
deliberate.
anything you want to relive about your birthday that we need to know?
No, I loved it.
Okay.
I mean, I would happily go relive that weekend. It was an absolute blast. I stopped drinking for a month because I felt clinically depressed afterwards, because I realized I don't drink. I'm not a casual drinker. We don't keep beer in the fridge here.
No.
I'm not sipping on a nightcap.
Not having a glass of wine every night.
That's just not my thing. Yeah. I don't care. Sadly, I don't have an addictive personality outside of biting my fingernails when I was a kid.
I think twice you have ever prepared a drink late at night, like where you brought it to me, like we each had a drink, and it was in the middle of COVID and cancer.
Yeah,
and
COVID, cancer, and then maybe we made a Christmas cocktail because that was was the absolute perfect way to sneak in some booze to a fairly stressful situation. So I don't casually drink, and Lord knows the last year I had not consumed any alcohol. one of the things that I ran into is I would drink alcohol, and not even a lot, just enough, right? Just to feel
like a couple drinks.
Yeah, just to feel that White Claw, just to feel that High Noon. And I would wake up the next morning and I would feel awful. Not physically. I mean, I would be a little hungover because I'm a total lightweight now, but I would feel like horribly depressed, having done nothing, to the point where I would then go back to my friends and say, hey, did I say or do anything that might have like been misconstrued or offended? They're like, no, you were pretty funny actually. Cause then that reminds me, I'm like the happiest drunk person in the world. I just want to talk to everybody, dance the night away. Yeah. I am the least aggressive human being when it comes to drinking. But I felt like I had to apologize for something.
That kind of icky darkness that sits on you, like you told your best friend, like, no, you do look fat in that dress. Like that kind of thing.
Like, I hate you and your wife and your kids. What's up?
Only kidding.
But I never said anything like that. And so fast forward to my birthday weekend, I mean, I guess probably like it might have literally been a bender where we just kind of kept going.
Yeah.
But when it was all said and done and we were driving home on Sunday and I was upright and we were out the door by 9 o'clock and we were on the road by 10, everything was fine. But I felt this like heavy weight of the world on me. And I thought this has to be a correlation to drinking alcohol. Like your body has subsisted without it for long enough to where now it's like this foreign body inside of it.
It was like this little virgin.
Yeah. And it has no idea what to do with it. Yeah. So it's just going to make you clinically depressed.
Yeah.
So I stopped drinking for a month, but then I went to my therapist and I said, hey, I think I have a drinking problem, and not a real drinking problem, a problem that when I drink, this happens. And the therapist said, well, how long does it last for? And I said, oh, I don't know, like 3 or 4 days. And she goes, that has nothing to do with drinking. Alcohol is already well out of your system. It doesn't sit there and just continue to play, depression cards on your brain. And she says, you're struggling with something. And I said, but I'm literally not doing anything. And she goes, you might just be depressed from the act of actually drinking again. That the alcohol itself isn't doing anything to you. It's just the fact that you are drinking again when you've been so healthy prior to this.
Right.
You know you shouldn't be doing this. Like nobody needs to drink, right? There's not a single person who has said, being a blackout drunk has allowed me to live to 110 years old, right?
No, but there are those little people that we see that are like 107 and they go, I had a little 2-finger scotch.
I have a conspiracy theory about that.
Okay.
I think those older people are the world's best trolls.
Okay.
They're like, you can say anything and people are going to say, you're absolutely right. Like the woman who's like, all I drank was Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
I'm 107 years old and all I drank was Dr. Pepper.
Everything in here has been carotted by Dr. Pepper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a chain smoker and I love Johnny Walker. And everybody's like, see, you can live to be 100 years old. I think all those people are plants. But it was that idea of you've led this fairly healthy life for so long, a year, and now you're introducing your previous life back into the mix. Your body and your brain are saying, no bueno.
Yeah, no bueno.
Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense.
But why would I want to be so depressed?
Well, I certainly don't want to go against your therapist.
Sure.
She is a friend of mine as well. I do know her. But I think the whole idea about alcohol and depression, now this is completely a layperson's opinion. I mean,
there's, as much as Google.
Right. Is that we do know that alcohol is a depressant for sure. Okay. So it would make sense that if people have a tendency to be depressed, which you do not, but people that have a tendency to be depressed, the seduction of alcohol is it makes you really high and happy before it brings you down.
Very true.
So they shouldn't drink. I think the other component of it is when it's being consumed regularly, meaning like every day, and I'm not saying lots every day, but just even every single day, it could have a tendency to depress you because it's not really ever getting completely out of your system.
Sure.
Right. So you're living with alcohol. So I think that's why she said, oh my gosh, it's 3 or 4 days later. You don't normally drink, that it's related to maybe you being critical of your own behavior. It's hypercritical. You are really, okay, so just when you talk about, in case for all the ladies out there, listening to your thing previously about how you get ready for bed.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, I realize, I say I have no addictions. My schedule is my addiction.
His schedule is his addiction.
Yeah.
And he does need to work on having some flexibility
1,000%.
with it.
I had a moment of clarity the other day. I said, you're the most obnoxious person in your own life.
100%.
I'm like, if, one of the things they say is, if you feel like you're in danger, if somebody's stalking you, if somebody's following you, break up your routine.
Right.
I'd be dead 1,000 times over.
I would be like, don't brush your teeth now.
You can set your watch to what I do.
It is completely ridiculous.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I do think for you, and because health is top of mind, I mean, physical health is top of mind, as is, I mean, I want to say emotional health and all that, but physical health for you really is top of mind. And so I can get behind what I think she's saying is that you went out, you had a great time. There was nothing wrong in theory with what you did, but I suspect your normal schedule also got blown to bits.
Kind of.
On that 4-day deal.
For sure. I mean, I
did you work out every day?
No, but I worked out the days before.
Okay, but still, the way you eat, you ate differently.
Sure, 1,000%.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just think like subconsciously, all of that could wear on you where you might feel guilty, which then will reaffirm my first statement is you have a problem.
Yeah, I agree. When you say that actually all makes sense, which then depresses me more. The fact that going out and having fun and being with friends in a fun city is breaking up the monotony of my normal schedule to the point where it's throwing me into a week-long funk.
Because your OCD-ness can't happen.
It's true.
Yeah. So let's do things like, the audience is going to think this is
going to feel like hoarders. No, I don't have a problem. I don't need to break up anything.
This is not. I just am so happy to be on the other side of this.
That's fair.
Once.
Yeah.
So none of this is an exaggeration. He doesn't know what I'm going to ask. Okay.
Okay.
So Kevin, what time do you start your breakfast every day?
10:30.
Is it right on, spot on 10:30?
No, it's never before 10:30 because I pretty much have it down to 25 minutes. Okay, so there's a 5 to 10 minute window between 10:30 and 10:40 that I can start it. And if I need to hustle a little bit so that I can start eating at exactly 11 o'clock, I can.
Okay, so there we go. There's a first example. Okay.
Sure.
What time do you wake up, Kevin? You don't set an alarm, do you?
No, I do not. It's usually between 7:30 and 8 o'clock.
Okay, so let's just say you woke up at 7:30.
Uh-huh.
How long do you stay in bed?
15 minutes.
Let's say you wake up at 8 o'clock. How long do you stay in bed?
15 minutes.
Break that routine down for us.
I will usually wake, because I don't have a clock near me. I have one next to me, but it's kind of hard to see in the morning, and I have to kind of bring my head up a little bit. So I'll just reach for my phone, which I know, again, people would say that's a terrible way to start your day, immediately grabbing your phone, but I need to know what time it is.
Yeah.
And so it's usually between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, and I'll grab my phone. And if there's no text messages from my mom at 1 o'clock in the morning that I feel I need to read, and there's no messages in general, I'll just go check email, or I'll turn to, and this is going to sound terrible, I'll go to TikTok, because TikTok will wake me up because there's usually some humor associated with it, but I'll really only watch it for 15 minutes. And that engages my brain to the point where I say, good, time to get up. And I'll get up, I'll open the curtains, I'll pull open the blinds, and I'll go start the shower. Okay. And I'll make the bed.
Yeah. And and then you have a shower routine.
Yep.
And I mean,
wash the face first, let it sit on there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Soap your body up. If it's a wash day, you wash your face, then you do the shampoo, clean the face, clean the hair. Then you put in the conditioner and you soap your body, and then you clean wash the conditioner out. Then you wash the body off. But I don't wash my hair that often. It's only like every 6 days.
Yeah, you've got good hair.
Thank you.
And then you, I'm assuming, put some moisturizer on after you get out?
Oh yeah, we lotion up. We put on the Neutrogena skincare base with the silic acid. Mm-hmm. Then we'll put on some La Roche face lotion with a little sunscreen in it because, UV rays are everywhere.
Gotta be careful.
We'll put some under eye serum on, and then we'll put on some chapstick. And because it's dry here, we'll put some balm in my nose so that my nose doesn't get all crusty and gross. Throw on some clothes, head on down.
Head on down and make yourself a cup of coffee and then start working?
Yes, ma'am.
But was there a cup of coffee before that?
No. The first cup of coffee is when I am downstairs.
Oh, okay. Did you used to come down and make one and take it up for a while? No?
Oh, well, I mean, when I didn't have an office, for sure.
Okay. So, okay. Yeah. So, as you can see, this is a pretty regimented schedule.
For sure. But it worked in quarantine.
Right.
When there was nothing else to do,
right.
It worked in the nothing else to do.
So let me ask, I went on one trip with you to Savannah.
Yep.
Where your schedule got a little kittywomp.
Well, I mean, it wasn't even a schedule.
Right.
You're on vacation with people you don't really know.
Does that bug you? Does it start to bug you?
No. I tried. The only thing when I'm outside of the house that I try to maintain is my eating schedule, meaning between the hours of 11 and 7, I'll eat food.
Oh, okay. But it doesn't have to be like you could wait till noon.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And again, I'm not doing it at what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not doing it at the expense of everybody else. Like if everybody wants to eat at 9, I'll eat at 9. If nobody wants to eat until noon, I'll eat at noon. But I'm not going to thrust my personal schedule onto anybody else.
Okay. What about working out?
If I'm on the road?
Yeah.
I'll just try to find time.
Okay. So you're flexible about that.
For sure.
So maybe this depression is linked to your lack of flexibility for yourself. Oh, it's hard for him right now. This is it right now, folks.
I'm willing to...
Can he admit first?
Here's what I'm willing to concede. I'm willing to absolutely concede that the lifestyle I have lived up until the country opening back up, which who even knows if it's going to close back down again. I'm willing to concede that I became so militant with the lifestyle that I was leading that even just from a health standpoint, because I'm okay breaking up the schedule. Like I'm not conscious of that. I know that is indicative of anytime you leave the house, right? I'm willing to concede that drinking more or being out socially more, so you're now around strangers, maybe not eating the best type of food or eating in hours that I wouldn't normally eat, all has a physical and emotional toll on me to where I think, did I just undo the last 12 months of hard work? Yeah. I'm willing to concede that 1,000%.
Yeah. So we need to shake it up a little bit.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's so bad.
It's not like it's...
Yeah.
It is... If they could do A&E's OCD as opposed to A&E's hoarders, I would be like the number one candidate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just like knowing the time and place for everything. Because I would say this, it's really only regimented through...
See, it's weird because I recognize you as my child, but then I think about all these years previous to this and I go, you couldn't get him he did everything, like everything was spontaneous based on his feeling in the moment, which was never anybody else's feeling in the moment and was never planned ever.
You know what I have to show for that?
What?
Living with my parents at 37 years old.
Well, I guess there you go. I'm trying to make you more attractive.
I appreciate
in this
that
podcast, but you're making it hard right now.
And so now the question is like, listen, I've gone months and months without drinking, either consciously or unconsciously. So it's not a thing for me. Like I said, I have no addiction to it whatsoever. I think what I will probably do is limit it to when I go somewhere else, right? Because here's the weirdest part about getting older. There's really only two things you do when you get older. You hang out outside in some capacity, or you meet friends and go get drinks. That's like it. That's all you do.
Right.
And so if you take out one of those, which is getting drinks, and then you live in the environment that we live right now where it's equally as toxic to be outside, there is nothing to do. Yeah. So I will eventually have a beverage again. And I think I probably owe it to myself to drink to then see how I feel the next day. Yeah. Because if it really does turn out that like having 3 or 4 alcoholic beverages sends me on a depression spiral, then yeah, I never need to consume alcohol again. Yeah. It'll be kind of sad. I like having an old fashioned with a nice steak.
Or you need to cut it back. You need to cut it back to like 1 or 2.
Sure, but then what's the point of drinking?
No, I know. I mean, at that point, because that's how I drink, 1 or 2. And I will say this. In fact, we were talking about this. I normally, it's weird to say, but don't drink in Reno, Nevada.
Sure.
I mean, that's weird. Mm-hmm. But I'll have a cocktail on the road if, people are having them. But then a lot of times I won't. Like if I'm flying the next day, I have all sorts of rules in place for
sure.
having them or not. But I am kind of like a 2-drink person for the most part, and I have rules about you go to bed completely sober and well hydrated, and that kind of takes care of.
It's a good rule.
It's a good rule, and it takes care of tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Also, that rule means you have to quit drinking early. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you're going to go to bed sober and completely hydrated. So I just think I know I have all those rules because, both my mom, my dad, there's a lot of drinking issues, in my family, and I don't want, to succumb to anything like that. So.
Yeah, my rule is typically drink as much water and eat as much food beforehand before you start drinking. Try to have 1 glass of water with every alcoholic beverage. Then when you get home, immediately put in a Pedialyte, slam that thing, take some ibuprofen, and then when you wake up in the morning, have another Pedialyte with more ibuprofen.
That feels like a bit much.
Drinking's awesome. Drinking's a really cool time when you get older.
That feels like a bit much.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to touch on that. Just let everybody know that I had intentional sobriety that I will eventually fall off the wagon for, but it was for good reason. And it looks like we've come to the genesis of it, which is I am OCD about my schedule.
Yeah.
And apparently it throws my entire life balance off when I don't do it.
That's exactly what I think.
Hate that for me.
Yep. I hate that for you too, honey. I actually hate it for me more.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't change your sleep schedule. Do whatever you want to do, Deb. Don't listen to me. I don't have it figured out.
The sleep thing is too important. I'm willing to go OCD to sleep well.
That's great. Let's talk about social media in the time of professional business.
Okay.
If you're listening to this and you're already rolling your eyes thinking that there is no importance to social media, just fast forward. This isn't going to be the segment for you, because Deb and I are firm believers that social media is an extension of your business, that you need to exist digitally as well as in the real world. So if that's not for you, totally understand it. Probably going to fail long term. But if it is for you, then this is the segment you need to understand.
So, and I am going to say to them, don't fast forward if you think that. Even if you think you're really, really right. You're not. We are.
Yeah,
so listen,
don't fast forward, or do fast forward, because you know what? It's your world. Don't get stuck to a routine, okay? Just be free. Do whatever you want.
We don't want you to be OCD about the business segment.
Do not. Sure. In no way whatsoever. So there's a couple of things. The majority of businesses have been around for a while. Actually, I don't even know if that's true. For a while, I mean 5 years.
Oh, are you just saying that because
businesses
of COVID?
in general? I'm just saying businesses in general.
Most fail in 5 years.
But if I was to say, I know this is going to sound weird. So put a pin in this topic. Put a pin in this topic.
Okay.
How, do you think there's a majority of businesses that have been around for 5 years or longer?
I think there are a lot of businesses that have been around 5 years or longer.
But what would you say? The majority is 5 years or longer, or the majority of businesses is 5 years and younger?
Well, I think a lot of businesses are over 5 years old, but I think there are millions of businesses that die on the vine before 5 years.
So would you say the majority of businesses are 5 years and older, or 5 years and younger?
I think lots of them are dying.
Would you say it's the majority or the minority?
I'm going to go with the majority by a hair are dying.
That actually probably boasts well for this conversation. Meaning, when you start a new business, one of your initial thoughts should be, what am I doing for social media?
So here's my thought. Let's just say, and in some cases, somebody is saying to me like, I'm going to start whatever kind of shop, and boom, boom, boom. And 3 months later it was up and it was going. That is not the norm. Okay.
Sure.
Usually there is lots of thought, lots of planning, lots of discussion, lots of, let's say, looking around where we're going to be, how we're going to function. Are we going to be a brick and mortar? Are we going to be online? What are we going to do? Okay. Yep. But I do think a lot of the businesses that do really well are the ones that give us a hint that they're coming.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
A little sneak peek.
And so we're not talking about long-term businesses now. We're really talking about kind of startup things that are going on. So I really do think those that create that, I'm going to say, need we never knew we had for them.
Anticipation.
Thank you. Do a really good job by heightening our awareness of them. And then guess what? They've created that exclusivity thing because they're not yet available, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, some would say that there's a risk that I will forget about them because I can't get it now, meaning we're such creatures of immediate gratification,
sure.
right? But the truth is, if they're doing it right, they're going to keep appearing in front of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And keep my appetite whetted until I break down and give them my email so I know really when they're launching and I can have access to their products.
So you're kind of saying if you as the business
yes.
are going to eventually go live, you kind of need to reverse engineer your social media presence to line up with when you are going to officially open your business, either in the real world or online. So you can start marketing 6 months out if you know exactly when you're going to open your shop. So if you're starting on February 1st, you should be advertising or being at least on social media September 1st.
Absolutely. That is exactly. And even, I mean, if people want to do it a little bit before, that's fine. But yes, I think that's a great window. If you remember back when just TV commercials were the thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
You would start to see randomly one day a TV commercial would pop up for a business that wasn't in your city.
Fast food, you see it all the time.
And you'd go like, why are we getting Ruby Tuesdays or whatever
Yeah.
it is? Why are we getting those here, right? Why are we getting
Sonic Burger,
right? We don't have Sonic Burger. Well, the reason was because they started advertising, because those are really impulse buys,
Yep.
right? They would start advertising. What they knew is if you were in a different town, they could affect your buying habits, right? But they were also getting you geared up for Sonic Burger or Ruby Tuesday or whoever it was that was going to open, right?
Oh, yeah, big time.
And so that's exactly what we're doing on social media and not paying a gazillion dollars for a TV commercial.
You're not paying anything.
Exactly, because it's free.
Totally.
And so if I have a product or if I have a service that I'm going to be making available, like you said, on February 1st, I need to start touting that. I need to create some interest around it. I need to create some energy around it. And what I think it looks like first is like, ooh, what is that? I haven't heard of them. Ooh, do you know what I mean? So you kind of start your little Instagram social media investigation. And then I think it starts with, ooh, I want that. Oh my gosh, is that available? Oh no, it's not available. What? It's not going to be available for 6 months. I'm never going to remember. And right about that time, because they know the algorithms know how we think, pretty soon on the next deal that they offer, that they show me that looks really good, it says, give me your email. We'll let you know when that's available.
True.
Now they've got me, right?
Totally.
And so then the launch day comes and boom, whether it's online or in person, it's open. I think that is the most amazing free opportunity that anybody is incredibly foolish to not take advantage of.
It's a cheat code. Could you imagine? I mean, you've owned a business. It was a
Right.
brick and mortar business,
Yep.
but we know that restaurants can now do business online. Could you imagine starting Emerald City and knowing 6 months ahead of time, you could start aggregating people's contact information. You could start getting people excited about the restaurant. You could start getting a fan base following you, anticipating the first day opening, people in line. You could hand out scones, you could hand out free coffee, all this kind of stuff. Just starting to stir the pot with potential customers because all you had was a sign. Remember, it was all you had was a sign. Coming soon, Emerald City. That's it. It's at Espresso and Tea Cafe. The only way people knew you were open is there was an open sign. There was nothing else for you to do. Social media is a cheat code. It's a cheat code for anybody that opened a business before. When did Facebook really come out? Before 2005. I was still in college.
Oh, okay.
So before 2005.
Well, that would have been for you.
True.
Yeah, for you because the rest of us weren't invited then.
True. Yeah, not cool. So I guess maybe social media as it related to Facebook and businesses, probably more like 2009, 2010. Anybody that opened a business before that, you just had to tell your friends. You hopefully had your friends tell their friends. You invited your family, and then one day you were closed and one day you were open. And if there was no fanfare with it, then you just were behind the 8 ball moving forward.
Just hoping. I mean, like now you're having to pay for what at that time was very expensive advertising. Totally. Right?
And can you imagine being a small business owner paying for radio spots or TV spots, getting people excited for it, and then if they did show up or if they did call and say, hey, we're not open yet, them being upset and then being like, well, why are you advertising? Why are you doing this? Right. You would put so much money into it that you almost wasn't worth the risk. And now all of this stuff is entirely free. You can certainly pay people to do it. There are third-party sites where you can make nicer versions of what you could make yourself. But if you never wanted to spend $1, not a single buck, you could start amassing, like you've said, email information, contact information, and you can start getting people excited for the price of $0.
Because once I have the email information, now guess what? I get to speak to them directly.
Yep.
I don't have to speak to them en masse, So if we use a restaurant for an example, we tested everything over and over and over and over again, the food. Can you imagine every single time, and especially the time where we went, that's it, Jimmy, like that's amazing. Now we're sending a picture of it that lists the ingredients, that looks like you can taste and smell it, through the photo.
Or you invite like 5 friends over and you film them eating it and get their immediate responses on it.
I mean, that stuff is amazing. So easy to do. And such a good, it's the door opener. It's the thing
1,000%.
that makes a business really, make the difference in the beginning. So I am a 110% believer that you should start social media prior to ever opening your business and create that anticipation, create people looking forward to it. Not just your people, your community, people but people everywhere.
I would also say that if you're an established business and you're saying, well, hey, I've been around for 20 years, we're trying to get our foot in the door with social media, but it feels like it's actually easier for people who are brand new, then what I would say is take the exact same philosophy of stirring the pot and getting people excited, whether it's about a new product, whether it's about a new service, whether it's about a new employee. You can do this 1,000 times over in a bunch of different iterations so that you are now focusing on something new and exciting and different that you can populate your feeds with that can get other people excited. Yeah, of course, everybody wants to start with a blank slate. It's easier that way. But if you're already established, well, that's better than having no fanfare whatsoever. And now you can just build on the fact that you've been around for 15, 20, 30, 50, however many years, but you can still build that anticipation. You can still build excitement for a new product, a new service, or a new person.
Well, if we take the restaurant industry, for example, and the beginning of COVID, and let's say somebody, they just always, they're that neighborhood Italian place. They've always had good business. They've never had to worry. The community has always supported them. And now they can't be physically open, right? I mean, social media would have been a perfect time for them to have said, okay, these are the 10 items that are available to go every single night. Just call your order in. It'll be ready for you to take out. I mean, they could have literally stayed in business, made good money, by reaching out, letting people know what they're still doing, what travels well. Mm-hmm. I mean, just take it home and have it. That would, every time, it's sort of like every time there's a new event, even opening up, it's like starting again, right?
Yep.
I mean, if we do kind of close down again, I would say to businesses, be looking at your social media and how it can help you stay in business if in fact, your half of your tables have to be taken out or, whatever it is for your industry, however that looks, make sure. I know like a lot of doctors, for example, did like some curbside services where they just did things out in the parking lot. Like, they should have never completely thrown that away. They should have integrated that a little bit into the permanency of their business, because there is a chance that they would have to open that back up again.
Yep.
So it's like that, the takeout with the restaurant, the curbside with the medical. I just think that those opportunities allow you to communicate with future clients and your current clients, and it just keeps your business top of mind.
And let me put a bow on this, because I know this is the question everybody's having right now. But what do we post? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Post whatever you want, and here's what people will tell you. By liking it, by views. The more they like it, the more they want more of that type of content. The more they view it, the more they want that type of content. Just keep throwing stuff against the wall. And if you have the opportunity to put your own staff or your own face in front of it, do that. They want that connection.
They want the personal piece.
Don't overthink the content. Just put as much out there as possible, and then just be top of mind about what's performing well and what's not. But when you're starting out, it doesn't even matter. Just do it as much as you can.
Well, and the other thing that I do think is important is, and you can tell me if you do this, but I can scroll through Instagram and like 1,000 things, but never like it. Does that make sense?
For sure.
And so I always say, don't get too caught up on the likes, because a lot of times when you see a video is a perfect example. A video will have, 100,000 views and very few likes. Do you mean, which means people stopped and watched it. So people are looking at your stuff regardless.
Yeah, be happy with the eyes.
Yeah.
Be happy with the eyes looking at it. I couldn't agree more. Start doing it. It's free. Do it often, and it'll be the best leverage you have to combat global pandemics.
We're believers.
Big time believers. Side note, we're both wearing tie-dye today.
Oh my gosh, I wanted to say that. I was going to say it earlier, but we were in the middle of your OCD thing. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
And God knows you can't interrupt me when I'm in the middle of my OCD thing. But yeah, I got some blue and white tie-dye. You have some black and pink.
Yeah, it's kind of,
pinkish,
like dark
whitish,
grayish, pinkish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, yours is very, very feminine. Mine's very masculine, which fits well with our blue and pink colors behind us.
It does. Good. I like that.
Look at us.
We're just so cute.
3 questions, all directed at you. 2 are usually professional. 1 is usually more personal. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Dear Debbie, since I was young, waking up in the morning and starting my day has always been a struggle. The opposite of Deb. Along with my lifelong battle with anxiety. I am starting a new job and I face my anxiety every morning. I overthink everything that I need to do before I get out the door for my commute. I get so anxious and overwhelmed that I am regretting taking the job and am considering the possibility that I may never have a normal life. What can I do? My anxiety is ruining my professional life. If you were hiring somebody and they were this candid with you, what would you do in today's climate? Because I think this is going to become far more of the norm moving forward.
It's really hard.
Totally.
That is such a hard question. So first of all, what I just want to say is, human to human, please go to the professional entity that can answer that question effectively for you. I'm not it. But whether that's a therapist or a psychiatrist or whoever, please get the help, because nobody should be suffering with that kind of anxiety without getting some help. That's just number one. Okay. I am experiencing this when I'm helping people hire a lot, where people, and anxiety is one of the big words, where they'll just now, it's like, I have anxiety, like I have a broken leg. And, anxiety is such it's so broad, right? Because there are a lot of people that would say, I kind of have episodes of anxiety, where in the past people might have said, oh my gosh, it's incredible anxiety if I have to get up and speak in front of people, right? Like that just kills me.
Right.
But it's only related to that.
Yep.
It's not related to anything else. And when people say it today, and I would say especially Gen Z and millennials, they just say it, they just do the label, like I have anxiety, and nobody knows exactly what that means.
How it manifests.
So I do think if you're going to make that announcement, that's number one. If you're going to do it, please explain, especially to an employer, how that would manifest. Because I recently had one girl say to me that she has terrible social anxiety, but it has never manifested in work. So she's 100% fine. Because I had asked her, what do you do for fun? And she goes, I kind of hang out with my family. We go camping, but it was all family stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then she said, I have extreme social anxiety. So I wish I could tell you that I do all these like crazy cool things, but honestly, I don't. And she said, but it has never manifested in the workplace. Well, that all made sense then. She told me the whole story. And then I didn't have to worry about me having to, I don't know if that's the right word, but
problem solve where she would fit within the business.
Exactly. Her anxiety. If your anxiety is something that keeps you out of work 2 out of 5 days, we've got a problem.
For sure.
Because the business needs you 5 days a week, right?
Oh,
regularly. Yeah. We're not hiring for 3 days a week. So I do think if you're going to announce that, you have to define it. I will say this. When we all don't know each other, and we all don't know each other in a job interview situation, and we are asking you to be really open and tell us about yourself, and we also as businesses should try to be open and tell you about, our values, our culture, what we're like as well, we can sometimes overshare. I'm not going to say that saying anxiety is oversharing, but I will say this, like I would be very compassionate. I would be very sympathetic to it. I would really nobody would immediately get like, she's a no. Do you know what I mean? Because they'd said something like that. But there are other people that are not that way.
Right.
And so really be careful about how vulnerable you are with people you don't know, even if they ask. Just be careful of the language you use, because I just wouldn't want anybody that was otherwise qualified not getting an opportunity because they had put a generic label on themselves that scared an employer away, right?
What I would say is this. We live in a great day and time where mental health is a totally appropriate conversation to have, and it should be. What I would say as an employee is if you come to the table understanding that you suffer with something like anxiety, you owe it to yourself, not anybody else, but you owe it to yourself what triggers that anxiety and what elements of life exacerbate that anxiety, so that if you feel compelled to talk about it in an interview, you can perfectly identify where in your professional setting it could be an inhibitor, because you then will understand what jobs you can and cannot apply for, and your future employer will understand where to effectively put you within the construct of the business. But you can say it, and I think you should say it, especially if you think it could be an issue moving forward, but you need to know exactly where it's going to be an issue.
Well, it's sort of like the airlines. If you apply for, the ticket agent, if you apply for a baggage handler, if you apply, probably even flight attendants, this is probably part of the thing. It says you must be able to lift 50 pounds.
Right.
And that's because you're going to get stuck with a suitcase at some point in time, right?
Sure.
In some of the cases, a baggage handler all the time. In some of the cases, the ticket agent a lot of the time. Some cases, the flight attendant, hopefully not that much, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to happen. And so if you are really unable to lift 50 pounds regularly, that's not the job for you. Because you can't lift 50 pounds without hurting yourself or without creating a problem. So I think anxiety is kind of like that. It has to be able to be, managed within whatever the job parameters, the qualifications are. This person's already has a job.
Oh yeah.
And if I were her, what I would do, if it were me personally, and I'm not saying that this is what everybody should do, I would probably see a therapist before I would talk to my boss. I would probably go in and just say, okay, it's come to this point that every morning is just treacherous and painful for me, right? That I need to see somebody and see if there's some kind of, therapy, or if I do need to be put on some kind of med, but that I can still work successfully, that I can still get myself to the office. If in fact that all works out and I'm good, then I don't know that I need to tell my boss. That's just a personal choice if I want to or not. If it's the kind of thing where I feel like I've got it pretty much under control, but there might be a little in places, then that might be the thing where I want to share with my boss.
Right.
Look, here's what I'm doing. Here's the problem. Here's what I'm doing about it. I've got it almost right, but could we have some flexibility on this? And I just think that's the kind of thing that once you're employed, people will work that out with you.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, so
help yourself by identifying it first, and then have that candid conversation with your employer who liked you well enough to hire you in the first place and who wants to make sure you're in the best setting for you to succeed for them.
But don't quit the job.
Oh, God, no.
No. Don't quit the job.
Okay. Question number 2. This actually might be the most relevant question for us as a podcast. Okay. It's so hot in my house right now that I can hardly bear it. It is impossible to get on a Zoom call for work and look professional when all I'm doing is sweating all day. I feel bad about this, but it's true. I have not turned the camera on for a few days. I'm hoping that the heat wave will pass soon, but I'm not sure it will. What do you recommend that I do in this situation? My boss likes to see our faces at these meetings, but I don't think anybody wants to see me sitting sweating. I read that and I just assumed you wrote it to yourself.
Okay, I did not write it to myself, but what a good question.
It's an amazing question.
Now, I never turn the Zoom camera off, okay?
Correct.
I always. But I will do things like this. If I want to get a second cup of coffee and it's a long Zoom, I will turn it off for a second, go get a cup of coffee. I mean, it depends on who I'm with. If I'm really with my people, people that I'm super comfortable with, I'm just going to go grab a cup of coffee, keep talking, right? But if it were like in a boss situation, I would turn the camera off for a second, grab a cup of coffee, and come back. But I think the same thing applies. First of all, you're not in a gym. You're not just profusely. I know water's not running down your face.
Sure.
If you are a woman, I know that Zoom now has a feature where it will put blush and lipstick on you.
Hell yeah.
So I would use
Or if you're a man who likes makeup.
Yeah. So for sure, I would take advantage of that. Puts a little glow on you that might not look like sweat. But I mean, if you had to, let's say, every 30 minutes, just hit the camera off for a second to pat your face dry, do you know what I mean? Then do it. I mean, it's still more important that you're there.
Can I put on?
Here's the other thing I know. You can look pretty crappy in person, excuse my language, and still look okay on Zoom. I mean, Zoom hides a lot.
Can I put my boomer hat on?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're on a camera in your home.
Yeah.
Turn it on.
Yeah.
Yes. Turn it
yes.
on. Put your best foot forward, do your hair, put your makeup on. You don't even have to put on pants. Put a blouse on.
Yeah.
If the call is an hour, it's an hour.
Yeah.
This is not hard. All of us have the benefit now of working from home, and everybody's like, yeah, I think we can sign off on that. If you need to come in for a little bit, great. But if everything can be done from the luxury of your living room, do that. There is no hotter room on earth than this room when it's 110 degrees outside after 3:00 in the afternoon. We have put a moratorium on podcasting if that's how it's going to be.
We wouldn't be able to do it.
We don't do that.
Right.
Even that being said, we've done it. We're alive. We've told the story about it. We make light of it. You hop on the Zoom, you say, hey guys, my apartment is 120 degrees right now. If I get up to just go fan myself because I feel like I'm going to pass out, know that it's not because I'm not interested. It's because I'm worried about dying on Zoom. Nobody cares. This is a huge, very millennial Gen Z question to ask, which is you've already been giving a lot. Let's not make a mountain out of a molehill here.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. And I think people would laugh. I mean, if you just took a tissue and went like this, do you know what I mean? People would go.
Or just you're sucking, get a huge thing of ice water that everybody can see and mute yourself and just chug it. People think it's the greatest thing in the world.
I agree.
This is not you should not be calling your boss and being like, hey, I look terrible. I can't be on Zooms. I don't even care if your job is recruiting and you're on 10 Zooms a day. This is still not an issue.
I had a Zoom one morning, so I'll tell on myself. I had a Zoom one morning, and I do not get out of bed with hair looking good at all, as Kevin can attest.
Well, I don't either. This takes at least 30 minutes.
I mean, my hair is plastered to one side of the head where I sweated or whatever in the night. But it was I was late, And so I literally took all my hair and pulled it forward and just fluffed. Do you know what I mean? Like fluffed it. And it might have involved a lot of hairspray. I put on blush. I put on lipstick. I had no time for any kind of eye thing. I didn't have any foundation on, but I put on glasses, which hide a lot of that anyways.
For sure.
And I put on earrings. I didn't even put on a bra. I was in such a hurry. I put on a top, and guess what? I got on and somebody said, Deb, it's so early for you and you look so great. And I looked in the Zoom and I was like, really? Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Yep.
You know, so it does not require a lot.
That is like first world problems. Figure that thing out. Buy a air conditioner for your apartment.
Exactly. Do a little fan there.
Exactly.
And have a little.
Look real majestic.
Yeah.
I love it. Dear Debbie, this is going to be a fun one. Dear Debbie, I have been involved with, we'll call her Barbie, for about 6 months. She's everything I ever wanted in a mate.
Yeah.
We have a similar sense of humor, and our goals and ambitions are almost identical. Our values match too, except for one. My sense of propriety seems to be a stumbling block. Is that the right word? Propriety? Propriety?
That's propriety. I'm not sure what he means by it, but
we're going to get to it. Debbie, Barbie wears sheer tops and no bra. She doesn't usually wear any undergarments either, even when she's in a fairly short skirt. I grew up Southern Baptist, raised around women who feel that kind of attire is unacceptable and trashy. While the female body is, to me, one of the most beautiful things on earth, I was brought up to believe that leaving something to the imagination is more desirable than showing everything. Barbie says I've got hang-ups, and I don't necessarily disagree. How can I deal with this? Can we all agree this guy is 30 to 40 years older than Barbie?
Oh, he might not be.
Oh, I think he is like rich, 75.
And her name is Barbie.
Dating a girl who clearly sees him for his money and nothing else.
Well, so I think the human body is beautiful as well.
Of course.
Okay. And in a perfect world, anybody should be able to wear whatever they want, not be judged by it.
For sure.
Okay. However, there are places where we would expect to not see, I'm just going to say a breast.
I mean, you did just say that you didn't wear a bra while on a Zoom, so who are you to judge anybody?
But I wasn't wearing something sheer.
True.
Okay. And I'm only from here up. Remember,
Very
I can
true.
control that. Okay. So, you know,
what's also funny is when I obviously when I'm triggered with the name Barbie, I assume this woman is extremely well put together.
I've got a big blonde ponytail.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And like everybody'd be like, well, of course she wears that stuff. Look at her.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could be the complete opposite side of the spectrum where it's just like, did
She's
somebody mug her on her way to the Chuckle Hut? Like, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt that her body is something to be celebrated. Not that everybody's body isn't something to be celebrated, but her body in particular is something to be celebrated. But if we find the middle ground, which probably means her body isn't that of a Victoria's Secret model, there is a time and a place for everything.
Well, even if her body is a time and place of a Victoria's Secret model, I think we could line up all the Victoria's Secret models and say, how would you dress for a wedding? How would you dress for a funeral? How would you dress to go to church?
In lingerie, it's contracted.
And they would dress in what we,
of course,
thought would be typical for that. I mean, our culture, we can't forget, and that has nothing to do. The South is a little bit different sometimes that way in really being embedded in very strong cultural norms.
Which is ironic because it's so miserably hot down there. People should want to wear as few clothing as possible.
Exactly. But I also think that, in America, we have cultural norms just like other people do. You do dress one way for a funeral. You do dress another way for a wedding. You do dress another way for church, right? And so I think there are some places where covering up is correct, right? I don't know how many girls don't wear underwear today, but if you don't wear underwear, I think that's between you and you. Do you know what I mean? Don't wear underwear. I'm totally fine with it, but then don't expose the obvious to me. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. Is that an old person thing?
Well, I guess what I would say is, everything is small things are usually an indicator of bigger things, right? There are some things that are just completely throwaway that don't mean anything. But consciously wearing clothes like this routinely to where it becomes a problem for your significant other is indicative of a bigger issue. And it's not an issue, but it's she prefers this. She's comfortable wearing this. She thinks it identifies her in the community the way she wants to be seen. If you have a problem with that, then you kind of fundamentally have a problem with her.
Exactly.
And so I would push back that you guys see eye to eye on 99.9% of everything. I think you think she's smoking hot. She laughs at your jokes and she's willing to walk down the street with you.
Yeah.
But then you were raised a certain way where you know that regardless of all that other stuff, nobody cares if you can see her chesticles.
Right. And chesticles. And I do think it doesn't really matter how she was raised. This is how she's being.
Totally.
And there's a piece of me that goes like, you know, I can get behind her little free spirit thing if that's what all of it is,
sure.
Right? And especially if anybody should be comfortable with their body no matter what, but especially if she has a lovely body and has gotten attention for it, then I also understand that as well. And I mean appropriate attention, hopefully not inappropriate attention. But I mean, I just am, when he said the part about values, I think this is right there. Like this is the middle of that.
Right.
Because the people that he's worrying about that are judging it, it's all values oriented. I mean, they're all saying, I can see her chesticles, therefore she is,
sure.
And they're putting a label on it. And that's what he doesn't like. But that is the world.
That is the world. And so you either have to say goodbye to Barbie and put her in her dream car and let her drive away because that doesn't seem that's going to change.
Yeah.
Or you have to be 100% in with her.
Yeah.
Because nobody else is going to change. Like Southern Baptist people who are still holding tight to the way they were raised, this is their buffet. This is their buffet of judgment. Yeah. They get to look at her and just cast every single ridicule, thought, and comment in her direction and not feel remotely guilty about it. That's not going to change. Conversely, she is totally comfortable with who she is. So you're either picking the way you grew up or you're picking the Malibu dream house.
Well, and exactly. The other part of it is that depending on actually how far they are, like, I mean, if they're thinking we're going to get married, right? Like, is it fair to subject her to that? Now, I don't mean you should break up with her, but I'm meaning like you got to let those people go.
1,000%.
I mean, she cannot be subjected to ridicule, and I would say non-acceptance. Do you know what I mean? And judgment and disdain from this whole group of people that you're trying to still be in a relationship with.
I agree.
Right?
I couldn't agree more. You're picking one or the other. They're diametrically opposed. They're on either side of the spectrum. You do not get to play the middle ground.
So if your name is Ken, pick Barbie for sure.
Yeah, this guy's name is like Judd. That's what I'm assuming. It's not Ken.
I will say that Mattel thinks those short skirts are easier to put on her, and I don't believe that Barbie ever had underwear. So I'm just saying.
Just living up to her namesake.
Yeah.
All right, Deb, as we wind this podcast down, why don't you tell me what you're thankful for this week?
I'm thankful that we've had a couple days where the smoke has dissipated a little bit.
Okay.
And that doesn't seem like a big thing unless you're living in the 500 air quality index. You know, when you've been living in that.
Yep.
I was able to get out of it a little bit because I traveled, but it's still,
gross.
Yep, it's still gross. So we've had a couple breaks, which is really nice. And I'm also grateful that I was able to travel and get out of it.
Those are totally appropriate.
I mean, like really get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely
like,
appropriate.
Get out of it.
I said to you last week, I said, Deb, you don't ever brag about this, and I don't even know that you're conscious of this, but you help younger women all the time. And I see it every single week. You are doing something for somebody who you in no way need to do anything for. And whether you're conscious of it or not, I think there is a wave of young women and men, but a lot of young women whose lives have been directly affected by you to where we can talk about them in large groups of numbers. And I think it's very cool for somebody on the outside to witness that, because I think so many people want to be braggadocious about that or say, hey, I'm here to be a role model. I'm here to change people's lives. I'm here to do this, that, and everything else. And when they say that, it kind of loses a little bit of its genuineness. But you just do it, and you never talk about it, and you never mention it. It's just something that you come to the table with, and I think you like it, but I don't think you hang your hat on it. And for me being your son, I'm super proud of you to be able to say that you do stuff like that, where you are having impactful changes on people's lives that set their course for far better than they ever could have imagined. And I've seen that a handful of times in the last month, and I just felt I needed to say that. And I'm thankful to have you as my mom and have you as a representative of good.
Oh, Kevin, you make me want to, that makes me tear up a little bit.
No crying.
Thank you.
No cries on the podcast. But I've seen it a handful of times. It just needed to be said.
Sweetie. That's really nice of you.
Of course. Now, what's for dinner, lady?
We're going to make a kind of a chicken piccata. A little cheater chicken piccata.
Don't you have to put flour on that, though?
Yeah, but we're not. We're going to put
cornstarch?
No, we're going to do like a little breading, but then we're going to use like crunched up gluten-free panko crumbs.
Oh, so you're just going to do like the egg wash and the panko? Mm-hmm. Got it. I think you could probably...
a lot of lemon and capers.
I think you can still probably use cornstarch to dust it.
Yeah, I probably could.
Because then you can put the egg on that.
Yeah.
And then it'll actually give it a crunchier flavor.
Does that sound good?
I mean, listen, we've been hitting home runs the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We had the... Short ribs, which were phenomenal. We had the enchilada lasagna. And then last week, the sticky beef. I call it beef and broccoli.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You know what it tasted like? The jerky cubes that you get from Costco that are packaged. Mm-hmm. It tasted like that, but better. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, the meat was really, really tender. And I used kind of a different recipe, and and I did it in the Instant Pot. So, you still want that feeling of kind of caramelization or thickness. It had a sticky to it. It had a real good depth to it. Yeah.
It was fantastic.
It was great.
Some broccoli and some peppers over the jasmine rice. Delicious. Well, we're talking about food, and that means that's the end of this Monday's episode of the Deb and Kev podcast. Remember to like, rate, and review wherever you listen to this podcast. And of course, you can follow all of our shenanigans on our social channels at Deb and Kev Pod. Anything else, Deborah?
I think I'm good. We've covered it all today.
I love you to death.
I love you, baby.
We'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thank you for listening to the Deb and Kev podcast. Remember to like and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow Deb and Kev on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter at Deb and Kev Pod.